Aren't they pretty? They're so pretty. Boy, I wonder how long these have been. Oh. No. Horton Hears a Who by Samantha Russell. 3 gold stars. Yes. Dear Mother. 5 years ago. Dear Mother. Well, Mom, my whole life is piled around me in boxes. I can't believe I managed to squeeze it all in. It's amazing what you can accumulate in 30 years of living. My first apartment, just imagine. Anyway, I thought I'd take a break, have a tea, and drop you a line. You know me, Mom. I know where my priorities are. The first thing that gets unpacked is the kettle. You know, it wasn't easy saying goodbye and, well, I'm not going to think about that right now. The place is kind of small, even for a basement apartment. Let me give you the guided tour, Mom. First of all, there's the living room, which doubles as the dining room, which also doubles as the kitchen, and the bedroom. Well, it's all one room, really. Except for the bathroom, of course. At least that's separate. Small, but separate. It's going to be hard getting used to the size. Oh, and there's a cute little window that looks over a lovely backyard. By the way, Peggy came by today. She was all excited. She finally got on full time at that manicure place in the mall. Oh, you should have seen her strutting about the place, smoking those impossibly long cigarettes and talking a mile a minute. You know the way she talks. Why, sis, I just love it, I guess. It's kind of like being in a little fort, isn't it? Oh, here, I brought you a housewarming present. I didn't know if you had a window or not, so I thought a lovely little cactus plant would be the best choice from John and I. Isn't it cute? Oh, you didn't happen to unpack an ashtray yet, did you, sis? You know how she waves her cigarette around like she's doing a Betty Davis impression? Remember how we used to sit at the kitchen table first thing in the morning and have our tea? And you'd listen to the radio and give me a list of instructions on about what roads to avoid and how to drive. Remember that? Make sure you have plenty of windshield washer liquid. Don't get stuck without any windshield washer liquid. You'd treat me as if I was going off to kindergarten. I used to think you were going to nag me to death. Who's going to nag me now, Mom? Who? Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, I have to admit, Mom, that the landlord and his son are a bit of a mystery to me. First of all, I don't even know his first name. I keep calling him Mr. Darnell as loud as I can in hopes he'll say something like, oh, call me Mike, or call me John, or Ted, or Rumpelstiltskin. Anything but Mr. Darnell. It's obvious that he's not married, probably divorced. Don't even think it, Mom. Besides, if he hasn't even told me his first name, I mean, what chance does a girl have? You know, he told me he has a 7-year-old son, but I've yet to see any sign of him. No forgotten bikes in the driveway or sounds of make-believe wrestling matches above my ceiling. I come home at night and all the neighborhood kids kids are playing street hockey and stuff, but none of them look like a miniature version of Mr. Darnell. Although, I have to admit, it's hard imagining what a miniature version of Mr. Darnell would look like. And they're so quiet, Mom. All I've heard so far are creaking footsteps. It's like having mice. I have to say, though, Mr. Darnell has been very nice. He even offered to give me a hand when I was moving in. I mean, it must have been a shock for him to see this plump 30-year-old unloading the rental truck all by herself. I remember saying something like, "Oh no, that'll be all right, Mr. Darnell, I can manage. Perhaps later on you could help me with the bed and sofa, Mr. Darnell. And please, call me Samantha, Mr. Darnell." He is kind of cute. No, Mom, I don't want to think about that right now. Maybe I'll take myself out tonight. I'll go see that new Indiana Jones movie. Oh, I know what you're thinking, but I like to go to movies by myself. I really do. I just grab my popcorn and my Coke and my marquee magazine, and I sit in the middle of the theater. No one really notices you in the middle. You always stand out on the edge, but not in the middle. Trust me, Mom, I know what I'm talking about. I just sit there and watch the screen flicker. It does get kind of lonely at the end, though. The credits begin to roll and all the couples go home, arm in arm. Me, I just go home quietly and wrap a quilt around myself and eat some carrot sticks. I guess I'm okay as long as I keep myself busy, but when I start running out of things to do or my mind starts to drift, I go into a kind of trance. In a way, it's like being at a movie and watching the screen, but there's no movie playing. Like yesterday, I was unpacking a box of clothes, and all of a sudden, I stopped and became motionless, like my mind just skipped a thought. And afterwards, I wanted to cry. I mean, it came from nowhere. Anyway, Mom, if I'm going to make the 7 o'clock show, I better get ready. Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, as I'm writing this, it's Sunday afternoon, and I spent the whole day organizing the place. I put the bed in the corner, which made room for the sofa on the other wall. The only workable place I could find for the kitchen table was right in the center of the room. It's starting to look like a half-price day at Leon's. Oh, and you're not going to believe what happened to me yesterday, Mom. I'm so embarrassed. It was early in the morning, and I was tramping about the apartment almost naked. If it hadn't been for this old shirt I was wearing that barely hung past my waist, I would have looked like a Pennington's pinup girl. Anyway, I was bent over, looking for some underwear. I couldn't figure out what box I had put them in. I must have looked like I was about to pass a football between my legs, when all of a sudden I heard this tiny voice. Hello? Oh. Through my basement window, I could see a pair of eyes curiously looking back at me. It was this little boy. His hair was black as coal and brushed sharply to one side. God, he looked like the Omen. I remember blurting out something like, "Oh, hi, you caught me by surprise. You must be Mr. Darnell's son. My name's Samantha, what's yours?" Well, he just stood there, real still. Bob. My name's Bob. Well, Bob's a nice name. Is it all right if I call you Bobby? No, thank you. Just Bob. Then, to make the whole thing worse, I could hear Mr. Darnell coming up from the garden. I tried to grab a nearby towel and cover myself, but it was too late. He was already covering little Bob's eyes and leading him away, like he had just caught him staring at the centerfold of National Geographic. Oh, God. I was so red-faced, Mom, I didn't leave the apartment for the rest of the day. You know, I hope I didn't inadvertently molest the kid. I hope I don't might see him on Donahue or something 10 years from now, traumatized by the woman who mooned him as a child. You know, Mom, Mr. Darnell seems to work an awful lot out in the backyard. He's out there again today in that garden by the tree. I mean, how fast can weeds grow anyway? I was watching him earlier this morning, and you know what? He does the same thing I do sometimes. He was going all out, scouring the ground with that garden trowel and wiping the sweat off his brow like he had to get the whole backyard done by sundown or something, when he just stopped. I mean, he just stopped and stood as motionless as a lawn ornament. I didn't really mean to stare, but I couldn't help it. I thought I was the only one who did that. Get emotional hiccups, I mean. And he looked so sad. Then suddenly he turned around and looked in my direction. Oh, God. I felt like such an idiot. He probably thought I was some reverse peeping Tom or something. Oh, it's just... Well, Mom, I've got more unpacking to do. I think I'll just finish the rest of these sliced oranges, and then I'll get right to it. Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, you're not going to believe this, Mom. You're just not going to believe this. But I've got a date! An actual date! Well, a blind date anyway. But he's a great guy! At least that's what I heard. Peggy set it up. She was over here earlier today going on in one of her verbal overdrives. I did Mrs. Brittleston today, and oh, her nails were all cracked. She looked like a nail amputee or something. She's the mayor's wife, you know. By the way, I got you a date. And the thing she told me, my God, I could sell it to the National Enquirer. I didn't catch it at first, Mom. Finally, I said, Peggy, did you say you got me a date? Anyway, between Mrs. Brittleston's nails and various other gossip, I managed to piece together the story. Peggy and her friend Beatrice were at the Fox and Fiddle, drinking and yapping and flirting. You know, Mom, like she usually does when John's away on business. Anyway, I guess Beatrice starts to tell her about a friend of hers who's recently become single. Well, you know, Peggy, Mom, never misses an opportunity to play matchmaker. Well, I couldn't help speak up when I heard he was available. Beatrice arranged everything, told him all about you. He's your age, has a nice personality, and take it from me, he's very, very handsome. So I said to Peggy, I said, well, did you meet him? Well, I didn't actually meet him, but he's a nice guy, sis. Trust me. Have him take you to a movie or something. I mean, I can't stand the thought of you locking yourself away in this place every night. It's depressing. Oh, by the way, let me fill you in on all the poop about Dora. Blah, blah, blah. Well, later that night he calls me. Oh, God, he sounded so nice. I even found myself fixing my hair as we talked, as if he could see me or something. It's been so long since I've been on a date, I was worried I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, I did manage to turn 30, being able to count the number of dates I've had on the fingers of one hand. Oh, but I felt so comfortable with him. Oh, yeah. Before I knew it, we had been talking for about 2 hours. At one point, we were laughing so loud, I thought Mr. Darnell was going to start pounding on the ceiling. We decided to go see that new Indiana Jones movie. Oh, I know, I've already seen it twice. Well, 3 times. But I don't care. After I got off the phone, I was on such a high. I was doing silly things like dancing around the room and singing like I was Natalie Wood in West Side Story. You remember West Side Story, don't you, Mom? We watched it on the Late Show one night. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and wise, and I pity anyone who me tonight. La 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 la. I feel funny, I feel dizzy, I feel funny and dizzy and bright. You see, Mom, things are going great. I'm becoming quite the independent woman now. sounded so nice on the phone. I wonder what he looks like. Well, I just won't think about that right now. Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, just thought I'd drop you a short note. It's late. My stomach's upset. I think I ate too many apricots. I was so happy earlier this evening when that guy called. I don't know what happened. Oh, that's a lie. I do know what happened. It's what always happens. I get nervous and petrified that I'll be rejected, and then I get depressed. I mean, I haven't even met this guy yet, and I've already married and divorced him 3 times over. You know me, Mom. I start worrying about all the details. I mean, what if he should want a drink or something? How do I know what to stock up on? And I miss being home. Not this home, our home. Go to work, come home, sit with you a while, watch old black and white movies, listen to you nag me about my eating habits. You know, I was thinking about the time you gave me that old black and white set, you know, when I was young. It was the time that Dad brought home the big new Panasonic, remember? Oh, you were all excited. You polished it, put flowers on top of it. For a while, you wouldn't even let anyone watch it. Oh, I remember looking out of my bedroom window and seeing the old black and white sitting on the curb, waiting for the garbage man to come by and scoop it up. Boy, did I beg you for that TV. I wanted it so bad. Remember what you said? It's garbage, just garbage. You don't need garbage in your room. And then you gave Father a look as he was snoring in his recliner. You throw garbage away, Samantha. Remember that. Oh boy, but it was so great. Oh yeah, staying up late watching old movies when I should have been sleeping. You would have killed me if you had found out. Oh yeah. Especially that one time I stayed up until 3 in the morning and ended up falling asleep in Mrs. Pinkerton's art class. Errol Flynn as Robin Hood, or Laurence Olivier in Wuthering Heights. Anything in black and white. I loved black and white. Remember Tale of Two Cities? Remember staying up and watching that with me? Oh, it was so beautiful. And Ronald Colman with his debonair accent. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It's a far, far better rest I go to than I have ever known. And you and I sitting together on the sofa, crying our eyes out. Remember that, Mom? And then you left me that book underneath my pillow that night. And you wrote that nice inscription on the inside cover. You know, I still have a hard time reading it without wanting to tell you how much it meant. I love those old black and white movies. When I was young, I used to dream and wish the whole world would be black and white. Why did I ever think it would last? Well, I'm not going to think about that right now. I'm getting a bit tired. I better get some sleep. Sincerely, Sam. P.S. I love you. Dear Mother, 2 more days before the big date. I haven't decided what I'm going to wear yet. Oh, but I did solve the drinks situation. I talked the nice men down at the beer store into selling me a variety pack. One of each brand we had. Oh, and I made a new friend. Little Bob from upstairs. He's become quite attached to me. At first, all he would do is stand in the corner like a sentinel while I fussed about with my endless unpacking. What do you think, Bob? Does this picture look all right hanging here or here? Well, what if I hang this one here and that one on the other wall? What do you think? He didn't say much at first. One-word answers seemed to be his repertoire. Fine, or okay, or maybe. So, Bob, what's your favorite movie? RoboCop. Oh, well, what's your favorite TV show? Star Trek. Well, Bob, you're a young man after my own heart. I love Star Trek. Who's your favorite character? Data. Well, this does explain a lot. After all, his 2 favorite heroes in the whole world are androids. Yep, we've become quite attached, Bob and I. He comes down almost every night to watch Star Trek with me. He even clips sections from the Globe and Mail. He thinks I'll be interested in. Yesterday, I coaxed him into playing Frisbee with me in the backyard. He wasn't very good at it first. My second shot hit him square in the face. I thought I'd have a wincing 7-year-old on my hands, but no, he didn't wince or cry a bit. After a while, he was returning my shots like a real pro. You know, I even caught him laughing a little. And it wasn't until later that I realized I'd never heard him laugh before. After supper, there was a knock on my door. It was Mr. Darnell. I was worried. I thought little Bob's face would turn purple. But after a while, I realized he was thanking me. He said how nice it was to see Bob playing again, and that it had been a long time and very hard for him over the past year since his mother died. That night, I had a cry. A really good one. Sincerely Sam. Dear Mother, Saturday night, Rob, my blind date, is going to be here any minute. Well, maybe a few minutes longer. He's due at 6 and it's 3:45. Anyway, I'm getting ready. My hair's in curlers and Peggy just left. She insisted on doing my nails. Oh, gosh. I wasn't sure pink was the right color, but she insisted. It's all the rage, this. Let me tell you, all the rage. Well, pink is one thing, Mom, but I'm not all that crazy about the sparkles. But they look like little Christmas cookies. Oh, jeez. Anyway, I picked out my best blouse and best skirt, and I had a nice hot bath. Oh, this is going to be a great night. I could just feel it. You know, this reminds me of the prom I went to in high school. Oh, I dreamed of going to the prom ever since I was 4. Every time I watched Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or Casablanca or even the Three Stooges, I dreamed about going to the prom. Well, after a while I realized, well, you know, Mom, I'm not exactly Cheryl Teagues. You know, I don't know why I never told you. About the prom, I mean. I guess I didn't want you thinking what a fool your daughter was. I remember sitting in the school auditorium eating my lunch, and there across the hall, in the middle of a bunch of guys laughing and carrying on, I could see Tom Gilbert. And he was looking at me. At least I was pretty sure he was. My first reaction was to wipe the side of my face. I thought I might have a Joe Louis smear or something. Well, you know me, Mom. I let myself get all carried away. For the rest of the day, I daydreamed that Tom Gilbert was going to ask me to the prom. It would be like an old Victorian movie. I imagined myself in one of those big sweeping dresses that make you look like a large belle. And there would be Tom Gilbert, all dashing and handsome in his period costume. And he would get down on one knee and speak in a Laurence Olivier accent. My dear Samantha, may I be so humble as to ask if I may escort you to the high school prom? Well, of course, in my dream, I would say yes, as loud as I could, and live happily ever after. Well, I never really expected it would actually happen. But then the next day, Tom Gilbert comes up to me and he says he has something he wants to ask me. Well, I was so nervous, I dropped my books. I remember him leaning up against the lockers and looking up and down the hall like he was about to do a drug deal or something. Are you going with anyone to the prom, Sam? Because if you're not, I'll take you. Where do you live? Well, I could hardly breathe, Mom. I just looked at him and said, yes, yes, yes! Of course, my answer didn't quite fit his question. But I didn't care, Mom. I was determined to have the time of my life. Determined! Well, by the time prom night came, I was set to have the time of my life. You and I went out to buy that dress together, remember? It was all white and silky. Oh, I loved it. Days before the prom, I would try it on in my bedroom and dream. We didn't dance all that much. He spent most of his time with his friends. I just sat at the table and smiled politely whenever he looked in my direction. In the corner of the auditorium, I could see a bunch of his buddies laughing and pointing. I didn't want to believe they were laughing at me. I wouldn't believe, not that night, not prom night. At about 10:30, I finally decided to go and find him to ask him to take me home. But he finally comes back to the table and sits down next to me. He was all nervous and fidgety. I was beginning to think something was wrong. Then he says, I'm sorry I haven't hung out with you all that much, Sam, but there's something Then he felt his hand touching my cheek, and he started whispering stuff like, you have nice skin, and nice eyes too, and I'd like to kiss you, Sam. Well, I was frozen stiff. And then he leaned over and began kissing me. I remember thinking I wasn't very good at it. Our teeth clanked. But in some ways, Mom, in some ways, it was so wonderful. Well, I guess I better tell you the rest. I remember opening my eyes after the kiss, and there, standing around us, were a bunch of his friends, and they were waving naughty fingers and laughing at us. And then I looked at Tom, and he was laughing too. I just pushed past him around the hall. I could hear Tom behind me. Oh, be a sport, Sam, be a sport! Probably didn't hear me that night. I was so quiet. I thought of waking you, but I couldn't. All that week of preparing, Mom, deciding what to wear, how to wear my hair. I even studied hockey scores so we would have something to talk about. But I should have known, shouldn't I, Mom? Samantha Russell, the ugly duckling. Now I'm depressed. Who could that be at the door? 5:45. He's here. Oh, gotta go, Monk. Wish me luck. Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, it's late. I'm sitting on my bed while I'm writing this, eating sliced. I'm eating chocolates, Mom, lots of chocolate. Well, I guess I should tell you what happened tonight. Well, first of all, I managed to turn curlers into curls and tuck in my blouse and answer the door inside 60 seconds. God, I was so nervous, Mom. I talked so much on the way to the movie that, good God, I was starting to sound like Peggy. Anyway, after the movie, he drove me home and I invited him in. It was only about 9:30 when we got back. I asked him if he wanted a drink. And when he said sure, well, I just stood by the fridge and announced, well then, what would you like? I have Blue Light, Miller, Carlsberg Light, Molson Export, Canadian, and most of the dry beers. I must have sounded like a waitress at the Fox and Fiddle. Well, we talked a bit, but after a while he started to get fidgety. It was so different than it was on the phone. Would you like to see my scrapbook of my bus tour to England? When he said yes, I knew I could entertain him for at least another hour. Because, first of all, there was my trip to England. Oh, and then my trips to Florida and Bar Harbor. Oh, and pictures of every place we've ever lived. And pictures of every place I've ever worked. After about half an hour, he had this uncomfortable look on his face. There was a dead silence. It seemed to go on for an eternity. I was about to pull out my last resort, my prized MGM movie book, when he said, "What's that?" "That? Oh, that's my accordion. Would you like me to play you something?" Oh, this one's called Come to the Sea. My dad taught it to me. He was looking at his watch. Then he said, "Well, Sam, I had a really good time tonight. I was really fascinated how you could tell what was going to happen in the Indiana Jones movie. But there's something I need to tell you. Well, I'm a bit on the rebound from my last relationship, and well, I better be going." Well, then I tried to say anything to keep him here just a bit longer. "Well, would you like another beer? Perhaps a different brand? Here, let me play you a polka I know." Photo albums and accordion music. What was I thinking? I'm never going to play a stupid accordion again. Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, well, everything's organized. I rented the truck. I got some boxes from the IGA. Oh, I know what you're probably thinking, Mom. But it's all for the best. I mean, what did I expect? I've never lived on my own before. Besides, I was starting to get a bit claustrophobic living here. You know, maybe Peggy was right. Maybe this place does look like a dungeon in a Nintendo game. She was all for it, by the way. Well, I talked it over with John, and he thinks it's great. We have that extra room just sitting there. I mean, why not use it? And we can stay up late and talk like Mom and us used to do. And you can babysit the kids anytime you like. And even cook. Oh, if you want to, of course. Oh, and Bill and Doreen broke up. Let me fill you in. I'll be fine, Mom, living with Peggy and her family. Just fine. I mean, after all, I did grow up with her. I wasn't sure what to tell Mr. Darnell. I mean, what could I say? That after living 30 years with my mother, I couldn't hack it on my own? That after chasing my date out of the apartment with my accordion, I was an emotional wreck? That I cried myself to sleep for a whole week? He was working in the flower bed when I broke the news. Little Bob was sitting at the picnic table, reading the Financial Post or something. When I told Mr. Darnell, his reaction surprised me a little. He seemed almost hurt. It's really sad. Dear Mother, I spent the whole day packing all of my stuff up, which is irritating, considering I spent so much time unpacking it. Anyway, I was planning on taking a break at 2 to watch this great Alfred Hitchcock movie when I heard a tiny voice. Hello. It was Bob. He just stood there, trying to be strong, emotionless, like RoboCop or Data. I could barely see his lower lip quivering. You know, Bob, I'm a lot like you. When I feel hurt or something doesn't go well, I tell myself, I just won't think about it. I put it out of my mind completely. But feelings don't go away, do they? They just seem to hang on. You know, your dad told me that your mother passed away last year. Well, I lost my mother too. She passed away a few months ago. She was everything to me. I miss her. But I've had to learn that she's never coming back. But I can promise you something. I'll come back, Bob. I'll come back as often as I can. Because we both know, don't we? We both know how important that is. He stood there a long while. His face seemed to melt. Then all of a sudden he ran towards me and grabbed me around the middle. He didn't cry or anything. He just hung on. And then he let go and ran back upstairs. Later that night, Mr. Darnell came down to talk to me. He told me that Bob was taking it kind of hard, but that he'd get over it. Nice of you to offer to come and visit, he said. It'll be nice. For Bob, I mean. And as he was leaving, he turned back and said, by the way, call me David. Sincerely, Sam. Dear Mother, it's a beautiful day today. I just came back from visiting you. All the leaves are different colors, and the wind is blowing them all over the place. I love autumn, all the different colors. I know it's been a while since I've written you. A lot has happened, but that can wait. There's something I need to tell you. I'm writing you to say goodbye, Mom. I know this day would come, and for a long time, I just didn't want to think about it. I stayed with you a bit longer than most daughters, that's for sure. And if you hadn't have gotten sick, I'd probably still be with you. Remember those old movies we used to watch together? I feel so safe. Safe from my dreams. I could live them in those old black and white films that I loved so much. I planted a small bush by the side of your grave, an evergreen. I wanted something that would keep its color all year round. Live, love, and dream. Remember, Mom? Goodbye, my best friend. I love you. Samantha. David? David, is that you? Yeah, I'm up in the attic getting something for Bobby. I'll be down in a second. Tale of Two Cities. Oh, I hope Bobby likes it. Live, love, and dream, Samantha. You're never free until you do. Love, Mom.